Good morning, children. How are you? Hope you are doing well. Okay, today I'm here to discuss a new topic. And let me introduce the topic. Moving to our next slide. So, it is basic sentence structures. Okay, it's a very simple topic, but still somewhat you have to know because some among you may know only little about basic sentence structures. So let me in detail explain you about basic sentence structures, and we have part 1 as well as part 2. So today I'll be explaining you about only two sentence structures, and tomorrow in the next class we shall continue the same topic. Okay, so now moving to our next slide. Now, before going through the lesson, before beginning the lesson, let us once have a glance at the objectives of this particular lesson. Okay, now look at the slide. So, on completing this lesson, you will be able to understand basic sentence structures and use basic sentence structures in spoken and written forms, and also you will be able to identify common errors in the usage of basic sentence structures. You will be committing many errors while you use some basic sentence structures. They may be basic, but still there is a possibility for you to commit some errors. So on completing this lesson, you will understand what is actually meant by basic sentence structures, and you will understand the syntax even, and you will know what are the different types of basic sentence structures, and you will be able to use them in spoken as well as on your written forms. While you talk, you'll learn how to use them while you speak to others, and also when you write also you will learn how to use them. And at the same time, you will identify some common errors in the usage of basic sentence structures. Okay, now moving to our next slide. Okay, come on, have a look. So before telling about the basic sentence structures, first let me define what actually a sentence is. A sentence here, sentence formation is the most important aspect. Just now I told you, is the most important aspect of spoken as well as written communication. If you want to communicate, you have to know the sentence formation. When you are able to construct a good sentence, then only you can make the best use of that particular sentence in a conversation. Or when you write something also, you have to follow some systematic rules we call syntax. Okay, so it is very essential to know the parts of a sentence and how they should be arranged in an order so that you can construct a meaningful sentence. So if you put the different parts of speech if they are not in an order or in a systematic way, then the sentence may not be meaningful. So you have to learn that. And today basically we shall discuss about two structures: subject plus verb form as well as subject plus verb plus subject complement. So before that, let me now ask you some questions. So I will utter some sentence, I'll speak out some sentence, and you have to say whether it is meaningful, whether it is conveying some meaning or not. Followed. So I want you to tell me. Okay, tall is Ramu. Tall is Ramu. So do you think it's meaningful? No. Then how it should be? It's supposed to be as Ramu is tall, isn't it? So now I have changed the word order. Then I changed the sentence has been changed into a meaningful sentence. So here we have to follow a particular word order. So let me tell you another example. Clever Vaishnavi is. Clever Vaishnavi is. Is it wrong? Is it right? No. So actually it should be Vaishnavi is clever. Okay. Then one more sentence, let me tell you. Is a doctor. Is a doctor Suma? No, it doesn't correct. It doesn't sound correct, isn't it? It doesn't sound correct. Now how it should be? It's supposed to be like Suma is a doctor. Suma is a doctor. Okay. Now Anil. Anil goes to school every day. Anil goes to school every day. Is it right? Yes, of course, it's right. So instead, if I simply say goes Anil to every day, go school to every day Anil. If I say, no, it doesn't convey any meaning. Instead, if I say Anil goes to school every day, that sounds correct, isn't it? Okay, so here what you have observed, what you have noticed. So what helps make a sentence meaningful? both the words as well as the word order. Rather than the words, then word order is something which is most important while we construct a sentence, so that whatever we convey, the sentence should convey some meaningful message, isn't it? Unless it's meaningful, then it is of no use to convey. So never such sentences should be used in either in spoken or written form. So that's the reason you have to know the basic sentence structure. Now followed. So I have told you just now the importance of basic sentence structures. Now look at the slide. Definition. Let us go to the definition of what actually a sentence is. A sentence is a group of words that are put together to mean something, isn't it? A sentence is a group of words. Words make a sentence, isn't it? But the only condition is that they should be placed in an order. They should follow a systematic order. That we say it as syntax, okay? A sentence is a group of words that are put together to mean something. To mean, remember, to mean. Okay, a sentence is the basic unit of language which expresses a complete thought. So a complete thought is expressed through a sentence, isn't it? Example here. I have given an example here. Taj Mahal is the most beautiful building of India. Taj Mahal is the most beautiful building of India. It's conveying some meaning. So definitely it is a sentence, isn't it? So now a complete sentence has it should have at least a subject and a main verb to state a complete thought. Subject, and main verb something, action, denoting some action. Okay, so a subject, what will be the subject? Most probably the subject will be either noun or pronoun. So a subject is a noun that is doing the main verb, doing that particular action here. That is a verb, that is a main verb. So the main verb is the verb that the subject is doing, isn't it? Ramu is dancing. Ramu is dancing, or Ramu dances. Okay, so here Ramu is the subject and dances is the verb. So here subject is a noun and that is doing the action, isn't it? Okay. So in English and many other languages also, the first word of a written sentence, we write it with a capital letter, followed. So and at the end of the sentence, there will be a full stop. Okay. So now a sentence is a set of words. A sentence always is a set of words. Okay. Again, I'm repeating the definition. A sentence is a group of words that are put together to mean something. A sentence is the basic unit of language which expresses a complete thought. Taj Mahal is the most beautiful building of India. Okay. Now moving to our next slide. Okay. Now sentence. A sentence, it is a set of words and it contains, what it contains. It contains a subject as well as it contains a predicate. Now let me tell you what is meant by a subject and what is meant by a predicate. Okay. So moving to the previous slide. A subject. A subject is the person or thing that is doing an action. Okay. What is subject? A person, or else it is a thing that is doing an action, or the person or thing that is the focus of the sentence. So most of the time the subject comes at the beginning of a sentence, in which case it's very easy to identify. Mostly it will be in the beginning of the sentence and it is something which does some action, which does some action. It may be a person or a thing, but which does some action. Now look at the example, you will understand. Example. Mary likes to run at the public park. Mary likes to run at the public. I have a differentiator. So just to differentiate, I have changed the colors. Okay. So Mary is the subject here. It is the person who is doing the action, isn't it? So Mary is the subject and the rest of the sentence we call it as predicate, and subject and predicate together form a sentence. Okay. And other than the subject, everything else is the predicate. Here Mary is the subject which is doing some action. So Mary likes to run at the public park. Followed? Okay, hope you understood. Now moving to our next slide. Coming to the predicate. The predicate of the sentence is that part that contains the action. So here, so predicate has what? Action will be in the rest of the sentence, and that sentence we call it as predicate. So predicate of the sentence is that part where we can see some action. Okay, the same sentence I have taken again. Example, Mary likes to run at the public park. So here, likes to run at the public park becomes the predicate of the sentence, while Mary is the subject of the sentence, and both together we call them as a sentence. So a sentence has two parts, subject as well as predicate. Subject is the doer of the action, and predicate where we see the action. Followed? Okay, hope you understood. Now, next moving to kinds of sentences. Now just now we have learned what a sentence is, and we have understood, hope you understood what a sentence actually is. And now coming to the classification of the sentences, how many kinds of sentences we have basically. So now there are different kinds of sentences, and they are, let me tell you in brief. Okay, the first category is assertive sentences, and we also call them as declarative. Followed? Assertive sentences, or even we call them as declarative sentences. Okay, now in the name itself we can see, you can guess the meaning, but later I'll tell you in detail. The second type, so coming to the second type, it's interrogative sentences. Interrogation, I told you earlier, interrogative sentences. And the third type are imperative sentences. Okay. Fourth, exclamatory sentences. Okay, next, fifth one, optative sentences. What are they? Optative. So the sentences are of different kinds, and they are assertive, also called as declarative, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory sentences, and optative sentences. Okay, now coming to the first type, first category, what are they? Assertive, or also we call them as declarative sentence. Assertive or declarative sentence. So in the name itself we can see, so here assertive, they state something, or either they state something or they declare something. So these sentences, either they state something or they declare something, isn't it? So here definition, look at the definition. A sentence that makes a statement or assertion. It may be a statement or it may be an assertion. That is called an assertive. Okay, assertive or declarative sentence. Assertive or declarative sentence. Assertive sentence ends with a period. Now if you go through the examples, you will understand. He goes to college. It's a statement. He goes to college. She likes to play chess. They are singing a song. So here we call such sentences are what? Assertive or else declarative. Now just now I told you in the beginning only. So assertive or declarative, they either state something or they declare something. So here again, these assertive or declarative, they are in turn classified into two types. So again, they are classified into affirmative sentences and negative sentences. Affirmative, they affirm something, in the sense they tell something in the positive sense, and the rest will be negative. So again, these assertive or declarative can be categorized into affirmative sentences or else negative sentences. Let me tell you some examples. For example, if I say it's warm today, so it's an affirmative sentence. And if I say it's not warm today, then it will become the negative sentence. But both come under assertive or declarative. Okay. Now another example, some more examples. So 2 and 2 makes 4. God is present everywhere. Statement. Okay. So he's a good leader. She plays with passion. She plays something, badminton or something like that. She plays badminton with passion. So etc. Some sentences. So these come under assertive or declarative, which are again categorized into affirmative or negative sentences. And if at all in a sentence, if you can see either not or no, then that we call it as a negative sentence. For example, I told you just now, it's not warm today. Here we are finding not. Whenever you come across either not or no in a sentence, that we can call it as a negative sentence, but it is definitely an affirmative or declarative, assertive or declarative. Okay, it's a negative sentence, but it comes under which category? It comes under the first type of sentences, assertive or declarative. Followed now. So assertive and declarative again categorized into affirmative or negative followed. Okay. Now coming to the next category, moving to the next slide. It's all about interrogative sentence. Interrogative sentence. Okay. Look at this slide. A sentence that asks a question. Interrogation, I told you, questioning. When some person is made a culprit, if he commits some crime, then he will be interrogated by the police. Interrogation in the sense asking questions. So a sentence that asks a question is called an interrogative sentence. So interrogative sentence ends with always obviously a question mark. It's a sentence, but it ends with a question mark instead of full stop, as in the case of assertive or declarative. Okay. Now, again, some examples I've given here. Where are you going? Do you use your laptop? When is your birthday? Okay, I ended the sentence with a question mark. So these are all our questions, and they are called as interrogative questions. So here, interrogative sentence may begin either with WH word, or they may be WH questions, or also yes or no questions. I told you earlier in my previous class. So what questions we call them as WH questions? WH questions are generally asked for the sake of information, and they begin with the WH words like why, when, what, where, whom, etc., etc., and how also is used. So if the questions begin with such words, all the WH words, we call them as WH questions, which are only asked for the sake of information, and they are called as interrogative sentences. And sometimes yes or no questions. So yes or no questions, why we ask them? We ask them only for the sake of confirmation. Okay, did you have your breakfast? The answer will be obviously either yes or no, but you don't give any information. If at all, if I ask you what was your breakfast today in the morning, okay, what did you eat in the morning? Okay, then you have to, if you simply say yes or no, that can never be the answer. You have to say either I ate idli, dosa, vada, etc., isn't it? So information I seek to, if I want to seek some information, I'll be asking WH question, and if I just want to confirm whether you have eaten or not, then that is for the sake of confirmation. So here WH questions, or whatever it is, or yes or no questions. Yes or no questions, generally we begin them with using a auxiliary verb like what? Is, are, am, was, were, have, has, had, do, does, did. Did you learn the concept what I taught you yesterday? So that is a yes or no question. Does she work hard? If I'm asking about one of your friends, does she work hard? Or do you love eating ice cream or chocolates? Okay. Had he gone to the temple yesterday? Something. Has he completed the assignment? Or have you gone to Delhi anytime? Okay. So where was he absent yesterday? Were they sitting silent? Something like that. Okay. Am I good girl? So are you fond of movies? Okay. Is he well now? Okay, something like that. So some questions, yes or no questions, they generally begin with auxiliary verbs. Okay, and here, so where do you live? Where do you live? It's a WH question. Are you a good listener? Are you listening to my class now? Are you a good listener? Okay, so it's an interrogative. Why don't you work hard? You are getting very less marks, isn't it? Your score day by day, it is becoming digits. Okay, so why don't you work hard? Why don't you work hard? What's the reason? Just want to know the reason. Why don't you work hard? Okay, so it began with the word WH. So it's a WH question. These are all interrogative sentences. What are they? Interrogative sentences. Okay, hope you understood. Now moving to our next slide. So the third category, imperative sentence. What's that? Imperative sentence. So a sentence that expresses a request or a command or advice. It may be a piece of advice, it may be an order or a command, or it may be a request. So these all we call them as imperative sentences. Okay. Now look here, an example for an order. Open the door, or close the window. Okay. Shut your mouth. Okay, shut your mouth. It's an order and request. Please help me. Please give me that. All requests or advice. You should work hard. or you should keep your surroundings clean. If I use an obligation like should, then you should work hard, you should keep your surroundings clean, you should help the poor, or you should help the needy. Okay, so they're all advices. So any order or command, order in the or command both mean the same. Okay, any order or any request or any piece of advice, they all come under imperative sentence. Here, it takes the second person, you, for the subject. You open the door, in the sense you open the door. Please help me, you please help me. Isn't it? Even if I don't use the word there, you, it conveys them. It in the sense you have to understand that here I'm using you. Okay. Though it's not visible, but you have to understand that there it is something instructed or commanded or request made to the second person, you. Okay. Most of the time the subject is hidden. Here in the open the door, the subject is hidden. But you have to understand that it is second person. Please help me. The subject is hidden. But you have to understand that it is a second person. Okay. So bring me a cup of tea. Get me a cup of tea. Here I want you. I want whom? I want you to get me a cup of tea. Here subject is hidden. But it's an imperative sentence. Okay. It's an order. Or if I say please get me, then it becomes a request. Okay. We often need to use the command mode when we want to quickly warn someone in everyday life, isn't it? To give orders or to communicate in an informal language, then we need to use some imperative sentences. So here the imperative mode, it's much easier than the other modes in English. Okay. So because when you need to use imperative, we don't have to add any verbs here. Using the verbs is not necessary. And the structure of the imperative sentence is very simple. The structure will be very simple. Followed. So now again in detail, if you want, if I want, I just want to tell you in detail about this imperative. So if you have enough patience, listen to me. So orders are usually, they are set up with simple present tense only. Just now I told you. So we use the simple present tense. Orders, all the orders generally we place them, or they are set up with the simple present tense. For example, let me tell you some examples. So, if I would like to say some negative sentences with imperative, negative sentences follow. Negative but imperative with imperative. Negative sentences with imperative. Then I can say, do not talk to me like that. Do not, it's a negative. Not is there, so it's a negative. Okay. Do not talk to me like that. It's an order. Do not talk to me like that. Negative, imperative. Okay. And do not make that sound. Okay. Do not walk fastly. Okay, so negative with imperative. Then if I want to make some positive questions with imperative, positive. Okay, obviously the answer from the other side will be yes. And so positive questions with imperatives. Shall we go out? It's a question. It's a positive question. So most often the answer will be in the positive way only. So shall we go out? Shall we go to the cinema? Shall we sleep? Like that. Okay. Next, if I want to make some negative questions with imperative, shall he not come in? Okay, shall we not go out? Shall we not go out? Or shall we not go to the cinema? Not is there. Negative, it's a question with imperative. So you don't need that much detail, but still, if at all if you listen, okay, you can, to some extent you can understand the entire all the kinds of imperative further classification. Okay, now coming to the next, moving to the next slide. Okay, and the fourth category of sentences, that's very easy. Okay, exclamatory sentence. In the name itself you find an exclamation, so hope you understood before I explain. Okay, exclamatory sentence, a sentence that expresses strong feeling or emotions is called an exclamatory sentence. So these sentences, they express what? Strong feeling or strong emotions, or surprise, joy, sorrow, appreciation, love, excitement, frustration, anger, etc. It may be happiness or any feeling or any emotion, but if any sentence expresses some certain strong feelings or strong emotions like surprise, joy, sorrow, appreciation, love, excitement, frustration, anger, etc., then we call those sentences as exclamatory sentences. Okay, an exclamatory sentence, how it ends? It ends with a, does it end with a full stop? No, it's not an assertive. Does it end with a question mark? No, it's not interrogative. So they end with an exclamation mark. exclamatory sentence obviously, they end with an exclamation mark. Okay, you know what's an exclamation mark. So here you have to remember surprise or emotion. They express surprise or strong feeling or emotion. Okay, so what a beautiful day. If the weather is pleasant, okay, climate is pleasant, then you say, what a beautiful day. Okay, you did a great job. You did a great job, ended by an exclamation. Then, I love that sari. I love that sari. Okay, fantastic. And what a pity, what a pity. Okay, alas, we lost the match. Alas, we lost the match. What an idea. What an idea. So, moving to the next slide. Here, some more examples. So, the examples I told you now are not in the slide here, but they are something else. Okay, but exclamatory only. Okay, look here. Some more examples. What a beautiful flower it is. I said, what a beautiful day. Similarly, what a beautiful flower it is. How nicely she is singing. That is fantastic. Okay, hooray, we won the match. Don't talk, get out. Don't talk, get out. Okay, you did a great job. Awesome. Okay, something like that. So these end with an exclamation mark and we call them as exclamatory sentences. They are fourth category. Now coming to the last classification, we call them as optative. Moving to our next slide. What are they? Optative sentences. This may be a new term to you, but listen, you will understand. Okay, optative sentences. So sentences which express an ardent wish or prayer or curse, etc., are called optative sentences. What's the definition? Sentences which express an ardent wish or prayer or curse, etc., they are called optative sentences. Now, what do you mean by ardent here? Ardent in the sense is an adjective. So, ardent in the sense very enthusiastic or very passionate. Very enthusiastic. Enthusiastically, they make if you make a wish or if you pray or if you curse, okay, so that we call it as, those sentences we call them as optative sentences. So ardent in the sense very enthusiastic or passionate. So mostly optative sentences will be wishes only, wishes. Okay, so now they end with a sign of exclamation. These also, they will definitely end with a sign of exclamation, just like exclamatory sentences. Now here, how the sentence structure will be, we use the word may because it's a wish. So may plus followed by an assertive, the first type of sentence. May plus assertive will be the sentence structure. So for example, may you live long. May you live long. It's a wish. May God help you. It's a wish. Okay, ended by exclamation. Wish you good luck. Wish you good luck. Okay, it may be a bless, it may be a not only curse, it may be a blessing, or it may be a wish, or it may be a prayer. Okay, long live the king. What I'm saying? Long live the king. So such sentences we call them as optative sentences. So here verb is used. Verb used is always plural, irrespective of the subject. Let me tell you an example. So God save the world. God save the world. Generally the verb should be plural. When the subject is singular, the verb will be plural. But here, look here, the singular subject, but still we have to use a plural verb. Followed. Singular, though the subject is singular, we have to use a plural verb. Okay. Verb always used is always plural only, whether irrespective of the subject, whether it is singular or plural. Okay. God save the world, or long live our PM. May he achieve success. May he achieve success. Okay. So here he is singular, but here verb is achieve. We have to use achieve. Okay. So we have to use a plural verb. Though the subject he is singular, we are using a plural verb. Followed? Okay. Now, so let me in brief conclude all the types of sentences. Now we have discussed 4 different types of sentences, but let me just conclude in brief, telling some more examples about the 4 different types of sentences. Okay, so now I told you the sentences are of 5 types: assertive or declarative, interrogative, exclamatory, and what I told, imperative, then exclamatory, and finally optative. Okay, so coming to the first, assertive. Assertive, let me tell you an example, then I'll explain. Okay, assertive. I write a letter. I write a letter. Here, what is the subject here? I is the subject. The verb is write a letter. Here, so subject is followed by verb at the beginning of the sentence only. In an assertive sentence, subject always will be followed by the verb at the beginning of the sentence, and definitely it will end with a full stop. So that is the rule for assertive. Then coming to interrogative, it should end with a question mark, I told you. Okay. So did you write a letter? The same topic, write a letter. So did you write a letter? Here, what is the verb here? Did is the verb in the past tense. Okay, did is the verb, and S is the here subject is you. Did you write a letter? Here subject is you. So here verb is followed by the subject. In assertive, subject is followed by the verb, but in interrogative, verb is followed by the subject and it will end in a question mark. So did you write a letter? Okay. Now coming to imperative. Write a letter. Write a letter. A statement. A command. Okay. Statements or order or command or request, we call them as imperative, isn't it? So write a letter. Write a letter. It is a command. Write a letter. I'm not requesting. It's not an advice. It's a command. Okay. Here sentence begins with a verb. Write is the verb here. And so here sentence begins with a verb and no subject element is present. Can you find the subject here? Write a letter. Write a letter in the sense here I told you subject will be hidden, but obviously the subject will be the second person. Okay. So write a letter here, the sentence is, we are beginning the sentence with a verb and subject element is present, and okay, no subject element is present, but you have to understand that it is hidden. Okay. And it ends in a full stop only. Followed? Okay. Now coming to exclamatory. What letter it is? I'm using WH word. What letter it is? Okay. Ending with an exclamatory mark. So here subject followed by verb at the end of the sentence and ends in an exclamatory. Okay. Here what is the subject? What letter it is? Here it is the subject. What letter it is? It is the subject. Is the verb there. Okay. So what letter it is, helping verb. What letter it is? So subject followed by verb will be at the end of the sentence in exclamatory sentence and ends with an exclamatory mark. Okay. Or what letter? Simply if I say what letter, here sentence is there without subject only, but still an exclamatory sentence. What letter? Sentence without subject and verb elements. There is no verb, there is no subject, simply a sentence. What letter? Here, and it ends in an exclamatory mark. So those also we call them as exclamatory sentences. Followed. So in brief, I have explained all the, because this is a revision, again we may not find time, so let me so that it will written in your memory. I have revised all the 5 types of sentences. Followed. Okay, now coming to, look here. So moving to our, okay, next slide. Next slide. Is it clear? Okay. Is it visible? Okay. A statement or a complete sentence has a combination of following elements. Any statement or a complete sentence, it will have combination of all the following elements. Now look at the elements. Let us look at the elements. Subject. A person or a thing or a place talked about can be a noun, isn't it? A person or a thing or a place about whom we talk about, that either it may be a noun or a pronoun or a noun phrase. So that becomes the subject. That becomes the subject. And here, let me tell you what is a noun phrase here, because here we have come across a word called noun phrase. Let me explain you what is noun phrase. Okay. So noun phrase is a word or a group of words, and they contain a noun and a functioning in a sentence as subject or object, or sometimes prepositional object also. So it's a word or a group of words, and the noun phrase has a noun, and we see the functioning also. As we see a functioning on a sentence, functioning in a sentence as either it may be a subject or a function or object or prepositional object. Followed. It's a group of words or a word. When I tell you some examples, you'll understand, and it will have definitely a noun and a functioning in a sentence or as subject or object or prepositional object. Now, if I tell you an example, the yellow house is for sale. The yellow house is what is it? The yellow house is a noun there. Is for sale is the functioning. Is the functioning. The yellow house is for sale. So this we can call it as a noun phrase. Followed. Okay. Now coming to speaking about the verb. comes after subject. Always verb comes after subject, and it shows what? It shows subject's action or subject state. But it tells about the state of the noun or the pronoun or the noun phrase, or else it tells about the action being done by the noun or the pronoun or the noun phrase. Okay, and it can be, the verb can be either transitive or sometimes it can be intransitive. Can be a transitive or intransitive or linking verb also. So verb can be like that. Okay, now let me tell you here what is meant by transitive, what is meant by intransitive. Okay, so now coming to transitive, what is meant by transitive verb? Here, transitive verb exerts its action on a direct object to express a complete thought. To express a complete thought, here this verb, it shows some action, it exerts some action on a direct object. If I tell you an example, you'll understand. I stopped the car. I is the subject, stopped is the verb there, and what did I stop? I stopped what? The car. I exerted the stopped called action called verb on a direct object called car here. So here some action is being exerted on a direct object. Some action. What is the action? Stopping by me, subject I, on a direct object car. So here if a verb exerts an action, its action on a direct object, we call such verb as a transitive verb. Followed now? Okay. So you buy a car. You buy a car followed by an object. Okay. So or he runs a store. He manages a store or he runs a store. Here runs is the action. Okay, it's a transitive verb, and the object is a store. Object is a store. So such verbs, when they exert, because they exert their action on a direct object, we call them as, to express a complete thought, so we call them as transitive verbs. And because I told you just now about transitive verb, here activity is transferred. This activity is transferred, so we call it as a transitive verb. And let me tell you the intransitive verb. Here simply I am saying the car stopped. The car stopped. Can you see an object? No, there is no object found here. So here when the object is not visible, when the action is not exerted on object, because the object is not there at all, so we say those verbs as intransitive verbs. What do we say? Intransitive verbs. Or the baby smiled. The baby smiled. You cannot smile something. What does it smile? There's no object. Okay, so it's a smiled is an intransitive verb there. No transfer, no object, no transfer of action. Okay, no object even. So those verbs where the action is not being transferred, we call them as where we don't find we don't find any object, and we call those verbs as intransitive verbs. Followed. So intransitive verbs will make sense without any object. They make sense. The baby smiled. The sentence is making some sense, but there is no object. Okay, the car stopped. Okay, it's a meaningful sentence, is making some sense in the absence of object. So that we call those verbs, we call them there as intransitive verbs. Followed. Intransitive verbs. Here intransitive verbs, I told you, they make sense only if it exerts its action on the object. Only if it exerts its action on an object, then only we call them as a transitive, and the reverse is intransitive. Okay, hope you understood. Now moving to object. Subject, verb, object. This will be the order syntax. Okay, so object comes after the verb, and object is what? Receiver of the action. Just now I told you I stopped the car. Here car is the receiver of that action called stopping. Okay, so always here object will be the receiver of action and can be noun or pronoun. Object can be either noun or pronoun or noun phrase again. Okay, subject will be either noun or pronoun or noun phrase, and even object also can be a noun or can be a pronoun or can be a noun phrase. Followed. Okay, then coming to complement. So what is this? It might be something new to you, but if you listen, hope you will understand. Okay, complement comes after state or linking verbs. Complement comes after linking verbs. Describes object or subject. So complement, if a complement describes the subject, we call it a subject complement, SC. Okay. If a complement describes the object, we call it as OC, object complement. So here complement describes either the subject or object. If it describes the subject, we call it subject complement SC, and if it describes the object, we call it as object complement OC. Okay, so later we'll see that. But now here, so here complement can be a noun or can be a pronoun or can be an adjective or can be an adjective phrase, or sometimes it can even be a adverb also. Now coming to adjectival phrase. What is meant by adjectival phrase? Adjectival phrase in the sense they are also group of words, and that can be placed group of words in the sense group of words that describe what? The group of words. Adjectives in the sense describing words. Earlier we have covered the topic. So adjectives are group of words only, but here adjectival phrases, group of words that describe a noun. Group of words will be there and they describe either noun or the pronoun, and they can be placed before or after the noun or pronoun in the sentence. They can be placed either before a noun or after the noun, or before a pronoun or after a pronoun. Okay, so for example, if I tell you an example, you will understand. Okay, the dog covered in mud is mine. The dog, I'm speaking about the dog which is mine. Okay, now, so it went into the mud, now it's covered in mud. Okay, so the dog, I'm describing the word noun there. The dog is a noun. The dog covered in mud. It's an adjectival phrase, because adjectival phrase in the sense it is describing about the noun. We call it as adjectival phrase. So the dog covered in mud is mine. Is mine. Okay. Then the girl in the red shirt is my little sister. The girl in the red shirt is my little sister. Followed. Sorry. The girl. Okay, let me have a sip of water. Okay, the girl is a noun. In the red shirt is an adjectival phrase and is my little sister. Okay. Next, are the shoes under the chair yours? Are the shoes under the chair yours? Okay. Followed. Under the chair, I'm describing. Okay. So, are the shoes under the chair yours? Look here, I told you, it's an adjective phrase. What is here the adjective phrase? Under the chair. Under the chair. Okay, follow. Okay, hope you understood. Now this table. Now moving to our next slide. Coming to our today's topic, basic sentence structures. Okay, because I need to tell you about actually what is a sentence and what is meant by syntax and what are the types of sentences. If I tell you those, then only you will understand the basic sentence structures. Without telling about in detail about what actually a sentence is, then I can't directly introduce the topic. Okay, so coming to the subject and the verb here. Okay, it's a structure. I told you in the beginning, I'll be telling you two sentence structures. One is subject and the verb structure, and the one is subject plus object plus subject complement structure. Okay. SV I'll be telling you, and S plus V plus SC. Okay, here look at the structure here. Subject plus verb. Subject plus verb is the simplest of all sentence patterns, and it is the core of all sentences, and the action always stops with the verb. Here the action stops with the verb. Here we can't see any object. No object is found here, but still it will be meaningful. It will convey some meaning. Okay. So these sentences are not followed by an object. Intransitive verbs are used. Remember this part. Wherever in a sentence structure, if it is SV structure, then we have to definitely use intransitive verbs. And I told you what is meant by intransitive. Here, intransitive in the sense no transfer. Here, the verb will make sense without any object, and isn't it? So here, action is not passed to the object. Here, just like as in transitive verb, action, activity or any action is transferred, but here we don't find an object and the action is not transferred. Those verbs we call them as intransitive. So such verbs only we have to use in subject plus verb structure. Intransitive verbs are used in these sentences, and these sentences consist of a subject, a verb, and possibly some adjectives or adverbs or prepositional phrases. Followed? Okay, but we don't see any object. Okay. Now, examples. If I tell you the examples, you will understand. She cries. You are seeing only subject she, and cries is the verb. S plus V only. No object. Okay. The little boy jumps on the sofa. The little boy jumps on the sofa. Here I told you, sometimes we see, apart from subject and verb, we see some prepositional phrase. Like now, just now, moving to the next slide here. The little boy jumps on the sofa. This is a prepositional phrase. The little boy jumps is the verb, on the sofa is a prepositional phrase. Followed? Okay. So I run fast. I run fast. Okay, I run fast. How fast? Okay, describing the action. So that fast is the there. You can say it's a adverb. Okay, I run. How did I run? The action. It's telling about the verb. Giving some additional information about the verb, we say it as adverb. Okay, so I run fast. Dogs bark. Simply subject and verb. Lions roar. Okay, so subject and the verb. These actions here, these verbs, cries, bark, roar, these are all intransitive only. Okay, we are using only intransitive verbs and they are not followed by any object. Okay, moving to the next structure now. Subject, verb, subject complement. Subject, verb and subject complement. We have seen the SV structure. Now we are seeing S plus V plus SC, SVSC structure. Okay, I told you earlier what is meant by a complement. Something describing the subject. Complement describes about the subject, whether it is noun or a pronoun or a noun phrase. Okay. Now coming to a complement describes the subject, linking verbs as be in its various forms. Okay, and verbs like appear, feel, look, taste, become, etc. are used. Okay, so I have to necessarily tell you about the be forms. Here linking verbs as be in its various forms. So let me tell you about the be forms. So be forms, look here. So here okay, so coming to the be forms. Okay, now you know be, the verb, speaking about the verb be, is an irregular verb. Be is a, it's not a regular verb, you know, because it's not a direct action, so it's a irregular verb, be form. Now be forms, we have different be forms. 8 forms, we have 8 different forms like be, am, is, are, was, were, being, been. Shall I repeat? Okay, be, am, is, are, was, were, being, been. Okay, the present simple and past simple tenses, they make more changes than those of other verbs. Okay, so you know, I think now coming to here, if we go through this table, you will understand here. Look here, examples of S plus V plus SC form. Here, he is a soldier. He is a soldier. Followed. He is a soldier. Here, he is the subject. Verb here is. Okay, is a be form, irregular verb. Okay, here is a be form, and then a soldier. A soldier is a complement describing about he, describing about the subject. So we call it as subject complement. Followed now. He is a soldier. The sky is blue. Okay, it's describing about the subject, the sky. Now my cousin became an actor. I already, just now, moving to the previous slide, I already told you here. Linking verbs as be in its various forms, and sometimes verbs like what we use, appear, feel, look, taste, become, etc. are also used. So the same here happens. My cousin became an actor. Here instead of using the be form, here became, verb we are using. Became an actor. Arvind looks fresh. Arvind looks fresh. The apple has rotten. Has here again, what it is, be form. Okay, so look here, the apple has rotten. The apple has rotten. Okay, hope you understood. So when we see when we find in a sentence subject as well as verb and subject complement which describes the subject, we call that sentence structure as SVSC structure. Okay, now moving to our next slide. Okay, here is an activity. Hope you understood today well about what is a sentence and what are the parts of a sentence, what together form a sentence, subject and predicate, and then the types of sentences, assertive, okay, or declarative, which are further categorized into affirmative or negative. And next, I told you interrogative, next imperative, next exclamatory, and next optative. Those are the types of sentences. Okay, and later I have in detail explained you about the tabular form. Okay, and SV structure about subject and the verb structure, isn't it? And also I told you about noun phrase and what's meant by adjectival phrase. Okay, now here I'm giving you an activity. Hope you'll you can with ease do it. So identify the structure in the following sentences. Identify this. I want you to identify the structure in the following sentences. I am a student. I am a student. Here I is the subject. I'm just giving you a hint. I is the subject. Am is a, okay, be form. Okay, a student. it's describing about the noun. I'll not tell others. This is the first sentence I've told you. My brother is handsome. They are Indians. She became sad. It tastes bitter. It tastes bitter. So identify the structure in the following sentence. I want you to do it. Okay. Now another activity. Read the following passage in the next slide and identify. Oh, identify spelling is must. Okay, I've gone wrong. It's gone wrong. Okay, and I have to remove. Okay, edit. Okay, identify the sentences which have S plus V plus SC structure. Which have S plus V plus SC structure. SC, you know, subject complement. Okay, now moving to the next slide. Here is a passage. Let me read for you. Okay. Paul Elkman is an American scientist. He wanted to know whether people show feelings in the same way everywhere in the world. Elkman took photos of people in the USA, and some people seemed to be happy, some appeared angry, and some looked frightened. He showed the photos to people from 21 countries and asked them to match the feelings with the faces. He found that they could do this quite easily. So he concluded that people show feelings in the same way. People show feelings in the same way everywhere in the world. This is a passage. Here you can find many SVSC structures, and I want you to identify those structures and write on a paper. Okay? This is an activity given to you. Now moving to our next slide, and also I am assigning you some task, and the assignment put before you is write a paragraph describing a mobile using SV plus SC structures. Okay, write a paragraph because S plus V structure everybody will write. Okay, so write a paragraph describing a mobile using S plus V plus SC structure, subject verb subject complement. Hope you will write. You will be able to write. Okay, I want you to write a paragraph. Okay, now. So before concluding, let me tell you that you have to immediately after going home, you have to once again what all the points you have written. I'll provide you some notes even. Please go through the notes so that you will understand. If you do revision the same day, then okay, it will be helpful, much helpful to you, because you will remember and recall what all the points I have told you in the class. Isn't it? Okay, so something shouldn't be postponed. You shouldn't procrastinate and do it today. Okay, immediately you manage your time to go through the notes, today's notes, today itself, and hope you understood about the two basic sentence structures, subject plus verb, as well subject plus verb and subject complement, and the different types of sentences. Okay, because I've given you enough examples, I feel. Thank you, children. So we shall meet in the next class, because there's still two more structures I have to discuss with you. Okay, I have to discuss. So thank you for your patient listening. Have a good day. Thank you.